Hi ladies. I said I'd be videoing later in the week to let you know the heart of what we're doing with this Girls' Day retreat. I did one in 2006 and had a really great turnout. Had about probably 45 girls come, ages 6 to 16. We did a Girls' Day retreat. It's a scriptural-based Bible teaching on this year will be the extravagant love of God and our identity in Him, who we're called to be, how to focus on who we're called to be and not be distracted with what we don't want to be or what we think we are, but how to learn the truth of who He says we are and how to flourish in that. There'll be breakout sessions. The day will be divided up into 4 different sessions with 4 groups, different age groups. We're going a little older this year because the topics I wanted to do were a little deeper. So instead of 6 to 16, we're doing going into the 5th grade. So coming out of the 4th grade, entering in 5th grade, we'll have 4 different age groups. We'll have grades 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, 9th and 10th, and 11th and 12th. So we'll have 4 different age groups, and then there'll be 4 different breakout sessions. So we'll all be rotating a group per session, and we'll just keep a constant movement of that. We'll have a little short introduction in the beginning, come in and kind of welcome everybody, let everybody know what facilities are, restroom, things like that, go over the schedule very quickly, introduce team leaders. But the first session, or session A, session 1, however you want to say it, will be an art session where I will have a short teaching on the God is the creator and how the creativity of God lives in us, and we have the opportunity to give back to our society in very godly ways that influence things like the arts, as far as like cinematography, photography, storytelling, music, different ways. In that we'll have a short art session. It'll introduce things like fine motor skills. We're going to go a little deeper this year, not just do the aesthetic side of it, but also do some more cognitive and motor skills in it. So arts are session A. Session B will have dance, but not just dance like we did the first retreat. This time we'll have the dance session. Well, actually, it's going to be called movement. So the movement session will be broken down into 2 parts. We'll have a muscle integrity part where we'll have stretches and breathing activities, some sort of stress reduction, tension release, breathing through things, different movements. It'll introduce core and muscle integrity disciplines, how to relax your thoughts by calming yourself and focusing on, again, identities and truths of Scripture. Then we'll have a dance session where we'll break off. There'll be some choreographed routines that we have some teachers coming in to teach to the different age groups, and at the end we'll all come together and perform together. Different groups will learn different parts. When it's put together as a whole, it'll be a whole routine. Session C is going to be a new thing that we didn't do the first time around, and it's called a refreshing session, and I'm really excited about this. It's a smaller setting. We'll have several facilitators in this session, more so than in like the art and the dance. This session is more of a refreshing, I don't necessarily want to say a healing session, because it's not necessarily focusing on like certain disabilities or anything like that need to be healed, but it's more of just sort of an inner healing. We're gonna discuss the topic of purity in God, very age appropriately to the different groups, and purity not just like in not necessarily sexual purity. I don't want you to get off on that, but more of purity in heart, purity in soul, purity in mind, purity in Jesus. Everything that we do unto the Lord. So purity in our thoughts and everything we do. And then we have a time of prayer during the refreshing session. The atmosphere will just be very calm and peaceful, very a more intimate session, with throws and big bad chairs and couches, and just a very intimate sort of in your living room kind of session in this refreshing session. And then the last session is the written expression. So we did a journaling session in 2016, and I was really kind of nervous because I thought, oh gosh, they're not going to care anything about this. And at the end of the day, most of the kids that were there said that that was their most favorite part. So each child had a journal. There were different utensils as far as pastels, colored pencils, markers, things like that. So during the journaling session, we had a young girl, who had earplugs in, and she ministered through song. There was no music. She just had her earplugs in, and she sang along through the songs that she had created her playlist to, and ministered to these girls as they just sat there really for, everybody was real nervous. What do I do? I've never done this before. And really they just kind of sat, and as they sat, it was just the most calm and peaceful atmosphere. And you could see the girls just kind of melt down into the presence of the Lord. And they just began to journal what was in their heart. Some would sketch, some would journal. And at the end of the session, a couple of girls had left their notebooks, and I found them. And they had to be young girls because the handwriting, was very immature, maybe like, I don't know, 2nd grade or something. And it was, they wrote things like, oh, Jesus, I just want to crawl up in your lap. And you think, wow, you don't ever know what a session will turn out, and you find the evidence of how God can just melt in to a heart. Some of these girls weren't regular churchgoers, but the Spirit of God can just penetrate any place, in any heart, in any hurt. And so the written expression session will be a time very similar to that. We'll have different modes of utensils to draw with, to sketch with, if they want to write. Just sort of a time to reflect on the day. What have I learned today? What have I thought about today? How has this affected me? How do I feel right now? What does this make me think about? Just a reflection of, their heart for the day. Just kind of to let that process, to let them understand how their thoughts and their emotions are related, and how the information that they hear is related, and how it affects how they feel inside, and how they respond, and how they begin to interact with each other. The whole heart and purpose of these girls' retreats, if you know me personally, which all of you do, I have 4 biological daughters and 1 stepdaughter. I always wanted a sister. Never was blessed to have a sister, but always wanted a sister. And there's a time when women, the world would just be such a better place when women can bond together. There's so much competition in life in general. There's that little saying that's been floating around social media. I don't know the exact wording, but it's something like, be the woman that straightens the other's crown without telling the whole world that it was crooked. And that's what we need to be. God gives us each different uniquenesses and specialities and perfectnesses and things we're good at. He gives us all different according to how He wanted us to be, that original design. And we're not in competition with one another. Like, we're here to fit together and to work together and to complement one another, because I can't function properly without the complementing function of my sister. I can't be whole without the interaction of my sister. And I can't function with my sister if I have animosity, if I have jealousy, if I have competition. And really, all those little things are not the problem. Those are all just symptoms of a lack of identity in who we are and who God called us to be and who He created us to be, and the wonderfulness and the perfectness that we are in Jesus. And it took me 40 years to understand that I'm not anyone's competition. I am I'm created to be who God created me to be, and we all are. And I don't want the girls in our community to take 40 years to know that. You know, not all of them have women at home that parent generationally. Like when I understood that I need to parent generationally, like I'm not parenting for today. I'm parenting for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, and the decisions I make today affects my great-great-grandchildren. Like we live generationally, and I don't want these girls to take 40 years like I did to find out, hey, this is what it's about. This is what it's about. I want them to see us. Each one of you that I've reached out to is somebody. You're all somebody that has personally touched my life in some way or not, and I may not have communicated that to each one of you, but each one of you somewhere along the past years have influenced me. You've inspired me. You've encouraged me. You've made me want to be better. You've built me up. You've helped me stand. Some of you have been, you know, right there through some horribly difficult times in my life. And you all have so much to put out there. So much to put out there. I want these girls coming in to see, oh wow, that's what I want. I want friends that are real, and friends that are honest, and friends that are, you know, can lay it out there, and it's okay, because tomorrow they're not going to use it against me because they love me. And understanding the love of the Father for us. Understanding that I can make mistakes. His love for me is so deep and so extravagant that it's all forgiven. It's all washed away. He helps me pick up the pieces. We're going to have a luncheon together. I'll come in and eat at the same time, and the theme for it is, you may have heard that old song, kid's song. He bids us welcome to his banqueting table, and his banner over us is love. And so when we walk into the banqueting hall, there'll be a huge banner over the table that says love across it, and the food will be set out like a big banqueting feast, but it'll be very girl-friendly, kid-friendly, finger food type delicacies, you know, fruit, and it just finger sandwiches, very, very nice and elegant, but tasty at the same time, and very low maintenance to clean up. Then we're all going to come in together into the sanctuary. There'll be a time for the dance groups to come together and show what they've learned for the day. There'll be a time for children to get up and give some testimonies. I'm going to kind of watch throughout the day. I'm going to ask my team leaders to watch throughout the day, and if we see girls that have really been touched or moved or had those, you know, light bulb moments, I'd like for them to get up and briefly share. And then there'll be a time of edification, short teaching about water. I know that sounds like a weird topic, but water, and how it's comparable to our thoughts, and how Jesus is he says, I am living water, and God's voice is like many rushing waters. Very cool teaching. Excuse me. Allergies. And then we're going to have some light worship. Hope House worship team has offered as a kingdom facility, not just to open up their building as a facility, but also their worship team has agreed to have some live worship at the end. About 4 songs. We're going to come together and do a time of worship, have some prayer, and close it out. About 3:45, dismissal will be 4 o'clock. There's not much setup. We're not doing a lot of decorations. We're going to focus on the Spirit of the Lord. We're going to focus on one another. We're going to focus on what we're learning. A very minimum amount of before and after. We're all busy. We all have our plates full. But I really would like for you to pray into this, to consider this, to think about this. I'm not really as concerned with what you choose to do, because if there's something that pulls on your heart are you thinking?